Hello, everyone, and welcome to Picture This, a Big Brother Hometowns retrospective. This is season 2, chapter 1, entitled "We Have to Stop Meeting Like This." We have to stop meeting
We
like
have
this.
to. We have to stop meeting in the car because that's the only place these people knew how to film their confessionals this season.
Yep, that's the only place. We are back. It's been if it's not been a while for any of you. If you're just like consuming all this content, hi again. It's been a while for us since we've recorded, but that's not important. If you're new to this, if you're just jumping into this particular season of the podcast retrospective, this is a Big Brother Hometowns retrospective podcast where we are going back through all the seasons and talking about them, breaking them down season by season, player by player, move by move, gag by gag, and quote by quote, and just having a good time talking about all the things, telling some of the untold stories of Big Brother Hometowns past. And there's some good ones, and there's some especially good ones, I feel like, here in Big Brother Hometowns 2, which is where you are. If any of you people that played in this season are listening to this, I'm excited to talk about this season because so many of you probably just, this is like a distant memory. I may trigger you through some of the stories that are told, remind you of things that happened, or you're just going to take the journey through down memory lane with us and remember all the fun we did have during that time, the 15 of you and me together. Yeah. So anyway, I'm Josh Consalvo. You know who I am. As always, joined by the one and only Mitchell Stokes.
Okay, Josh, I'm gonna send you I'm gonna send you an actual introduction, but first I'm gonna do this. But I just want to pre-warning. This is not my real introduction, but I am gonna send you my fake introduction right now.
I remember that day, and that Sarah made her fake vote video. She was the first one to ever do it. Others have done it since, but she was kind of a pioneer.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, that vote, which we'll get to, is so fun in the sense of like Greg just Greg as a character in general is one of, if not my favorite, Big Brother Hometowns contestants of all time. So I'm so incredibly excited to talk about him, talk about his demise, talk about his return, talk about his like his victory, like his victories in the game and what he does, and yeah, I'm just so excited because yeah, I think Greg I've never met him, but I love him so much.
No, he's something else. He is something else. We have plenty to talk about when it comes to Greg, but we're gonna start from the beginning. This episode, or this season rather, is 6 episodes long, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it really does pack a punch. There's some fluff. We get through some easy boots, and there's some moments like that. But there's a lot to talk about in these 6 episodes. This is a 15-player season. That's a pretty decent sized cast for the early days. So there's plenty of people to talk about, plenty of things to get through. We're going to kind of start at the beginning where, I'm almost going to let Mitchell guide me through answering how we got kind of to day 0 of this season.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, and I think we may have talked about this previously, but, how soon after the Big Brother Hometowns 1 finale were you itching to start season 2?
I wasn't itching to do it right after. I was kind of like, okay, part of me was like, maybe this is all I ever do, and that's just be it. But it was, I'm trying to put my finger on who it was because I can't quite remember, but someone that played in season 2 was like, I want you to do this again because I really want to play it. This sounds fun. I don't remember who it was, but that's kind of all it took for me because I was like, oh, like there's a demand for this. Literal, someone is asking for it. Mm-hmm. And that excited me. That was like, that gave me that recharged me enough to be like, well, all right, let's do it again. And so, that day or that night or whatever, the next day I put out applications just on my Facebook page and thing. And, this was long before anything I knew of the org community. So I, it was the people in my circle for the most part. And then I also went to all the people in season 1. I was like, hey, can you guys post about this? Talk about the great experience you had, all these
Yeah.
things. See if you catch any, use your bait to see if you catch any fish, and we did because of that. Honestly, we did get some people that were outside of just my particular circle, and I think we had about maybe 16 or 17 people apply. Most of which were people I knew or at least have one degree of separation from, before we were able to narrow the cast down to the 15 people.
Yeah. And so when did this season occur? Like after season 1? Like how long was it?
It wasn't that long. We can check the actual dates. I'm curious to know. This season happened in October, so it really was not that long. So say season 1 wrapped on September the 30th, which is only, for those that want to know where we are in time, we're almost at September 30th. So it's almost 3 years ago to the date. And then season 2 began on October the 12th. So it was really just a couple of weeks before we fired it up. And I did not, I remember, I guess I didn't realize it was that close together because I thought that I had taken a little bit of a break, but I didn't do that really in the early days, I guess. So yeah, that season lasted from October 12th to November 1st is when we wrapped up season 2. So it was not very long afterwards. So I was able to do a quick turnaround, quick casting, get enough people to do it. We weren't interviewing people. I was just accepting people that wanted to play.
Right.
And we got into it.
So what were, I guess, like in your early days of hosting, like what were you trying to accomplish with season 2? Like, did you want to fix things? Were there things you wanted to improve upon? What was kind of like your thought process in terms of creating the game itself?
That's a good question. I think that I had felt pretty good about how season 1 went. I still do to this day. Like if I ran season 1 again exactly how I ran it the first time, I think it'd still be pretty successful. There's a lot of things that we do better now, like much better. But I still think it was really good. So there's a lot of things I didn't feel necessarily super compelled to change. There are some things that we improved on from the production standpoint that you don't really see in the episodes. Just some improved graphics and things. But otherwise, I don't remember going into it thinking like, what's the next step of this? I think there was some things I knew I wanted to do. We added the 2 double evictions in. We hadn't had those in season 1. I knew I wanted to do that. Like I said, improved graphics and otherwise, and there was some new comps.
The battle back, you had the battle. Well, there was the battle back in season 1, but like,
but I fixed the battle back and made sure that was not a mess this time. Yeah, that's a good point. But that was something that in my mind just so obviously it needed to be changed. And so we fixed it there. The other thing that I was going to say that I just had off the top of my head and then I lost it completely. So it must not have been that important to need to fix it.
It'll come back to you.
It will come back to me. I remember it was just the comps in general. Just like I did want to just see if I can improve on some comps and we'll talk about that moment. There's a moment in the season where I was like, hey, sorry, we weren't able to do it like we had planned. We're going to fix it, something like that. And I kept that in the episode for time capsule's sake to see some of those little things behind the scenes that were, and I'll talk more about that moment in detail when we get there. And I'm glad it happened the way it happened because that led to one of our more iconic parts of the season, if not the most. So, yeah,
cool. So we did this for season 1, as I thought, let's bring it back for season 2. I want to read you the cast list, and I want your spitfire response to them. And we'll probably just go in eviction order. Daniel Phillips.
Robbed.
Ooh, interesting. Devin.
Who?
Ryan Dean.
I love Ryan Dean so much. But he was. I need to flesh him out more. I love him.
Sarah.
Ran Out of Runway.
Ryan Marston.
Cowboy Marston.
Trey Robb.
The Trey Robb spot.
Miss Abby Baxley.
Our Lord and Savior.
Gray Price.
Played real big.
Caroline.
Who? Sorry.
Bad video.
Yeah, bad video. Her one video, one bad video quality, and then her phone died on finale night.
Greg Wells,
The villain of all villains.
Justin Brock,
Brilliant player.
Emma.
She was there.
Oh, she was. Matt Holloman.
Dark Horse.
You better watch your mouth with this one. Trey Smith.
A beautiful human being, a bad Big Brother player.
Well, I have already been
Okay.
formulating my counter argument to this, which we will get to in part 2. Connor Mills.
Just an absolute tornado of a Big Brother player. Go ahead.
Connor the Tony Vlachos of
Big Brother yes. I've said that before.
Okay.
I've said that before because, and he fulfilled it. He pretty much fulfilled it. Survivor spoilers incoming. He comes in, plays this wild game, and if he plays that game 100 times, he wins one of them, and he did that in season 2. Comes back a second time as a winner, flames out super hard, super fast. Comes back a third time, plays a very, very strong game. Connor doesn't end up winning a second time, but he very, very well could have had it not been for one mistake.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, he absolutely is.
He well, I mean, whenever we get to season 8, we'll talk about the parallels of Connor, and because really, truly, the Connor and Gray of it all is such a huge arc for both of them in terms of
does that make Gray
Chaos
Sarah Lucina? I was gonna say.
I don't know which one is like better or worse to say. But their story is so entwined throughout both, season 2 and obviously season 8, and they both vote for each other to win. They both vote each other out of the game. Like they're both like, I don't know. There's just so many cool parallels between the two of them, and I really do. When I had such a blast revisiting this season, and I really do view this season as it's like a trifecta of Connor, Gray, and Greg, and truly most other people are irrelevant. I will make a case that I think you're too low on Trey and what her ability. I think Matt has some strategic acumen and some chops there.
Yeah, I said he was Dark Horse.
Yes, and I think there are some other good players on this cast, but I think in terms of the story and what we ultimately get in the episodes of Big Brother Hometowns 2, the narrative is driven through the perspective of those three guys.
Yeah, I mean, look at the season. Look at all the people that come back and have success. Abby, obviously, Gray, Connor, Greg. There's other Marston, even like Trey Robb, of course. Yeah, I mean, Trey always puts out a pretty solid effort. I mean, if not, does very well. We'll see him very soon again in season 3. Yeah, I mean, that's a big chunk of really important Big Brother Hometowns players that come from this season. So.
Yeah. But yes, but some of them, it takes them some time to get into it. I really feel like both Connor, Gray, and Greg, again, they just come in as fully formed characters of themselves, and they really know how to use their platform in their recordings and in their confessionals to tell their story. And I think we see 90% of this season from their perspective. And boy, is it so fun. Oh,
yeah, it's really good. And I've always said that Connor's win is one of my favorite winners' journeys, and still might be to this day. And I don't know if it could ever really be topped, in a sense, just because of the humble BBH beginnings and the cast makeup itself. You don't have a group of orgers that are just going to lose this game and move on to the next. There's like this very concentrated experience, and Connor comes in and gives it everything he has. This is like a dream that Connor is living out. This is him playing Big Brother, the game that he has watched his whole life, and like is getting to play it. Like
Mhm.
so we see that realization from start to finish. And so I wanted to say that at the top about Connor and how much I just love his story. Greg, I mean, and we get more Connor in the future, but this is Connor's story here in season
Mhm.
2. Whereas Greg and Gray, it's so funny. We're talking about 3 spoilers, 3 winners, 3 BBH winners that
Yeah.
run that like dominate the story of this season. And who would have thunk that, getting out of that season, that those 3 people would all go on to win their own season.
Mhm.
And one day, we'll put them all back in a house together and we'll see it happen
I
again. And
I had not realized that. Like, I had legitimately not thought of that, and I have full body chills. Like, just thinking
yeah.
because, like, so when we did a season rankings podcast, like, about 8 months ago at this point, even maybe more, but I love season 2. It is my 4th favorite season at the time of that recording. This was pre BBH 12, 13, 14. And I think maybe it'll change and maybe it may fall into a fifth the 5 spot or the 6th spot. But like at that point in time, 11 seasons in, this was my 4th favorite season. Um because and it's for those 3 guys and
Mhm.
and the energy, the just the absolute electricity that they have between the 3 of them as enemies. They are full on enemies coming for blood, and yeah, the story is just so good. And the thought that they're gonna be together again
Right.
for Winners at War, I did not. My mind is. I'm unwell. I'm so excited.
well, here the BBH2 is one of those really like big instances for me, and I'm really the only one that can really claim this, where the episode experience is far better than the lived experience in a sense. There's different, and I'll talk about why I was so frustrated about this season throughout most of it, or throughout a lot of it. And we'll get into that, but I really love revisiting this from the episode's perspective, because we have those guys that are really, and I'll give Matt some props too. Does a good job with these confessionals. Really fun to listen to. They do a good job of portraying their perspective, which ends up being the most important ones. The only person that I wish that we had gotten a significant amount more from is Justin, because
Mhm.
he plays a very big role in the season. Like, he plays a very big role in the season. Could have very well been the winner. If he had managed to threat a little bit more, maybe won a competition or something down the stretch. But he's the one person I wish we got more of. Especially because we probably won't ever see him play again.
Mhm.
Almost certainly. Like, I'd be shocked if he ever knocked on my door. And he actually he actually just texted me like right as we started recording. I got a text from Justin, but not the point. So anyway, to the
Shall we?
beginning.
Yeah, well, and can you break down for us kind of like this cat like we've hosted some connected casts before, but I think this one may be, similar in the same vein as season 1 where there's just a ton of
Right.
pre-existing connections, maybe not familial connections, but like very close friendships, very close relationships,
Yeah.
co-workers, like
Yeah. So I'm currently looking at the cast graphic, and I could even put it on the screen if I wanted, but it's not a big deal. You guys can look at it on the wiki. And the season is really like, and if you go back and watch it after listening to this or watch it again, you'll see this a little bit more. It's broken up really into 10, a group of 10 and a group of 5. And you have the group of 10 as people that are all connected through the same ministry that we've all worked for, CKM. So those 10 people are Gray, Marston, Matt, Sarah, Justin, Greg, Devin, Caroline, Ryan, Dean, and Emma. Those are the 10 people that are connected through that ministry, which is funny because some people in the 5 are tangentially connected to it, but the people in the 10 don't know that. So then you have your other 5. You have Abby and Trey, who know who a lot of these people are because of that ministry, but none of them know who those 2 people
Mhm.
are. So Abby and Trey, Trey Robb, that is. Trey Smith, who is unconnected entirely. She is one of Allie's best friends from season 1. And then you have Daniel Phillips, completely unconnected, friend of mine. Then you have
Connor.
who else? Connor. Oh, and Connor, of course. Connor is so Chris Griffith from season 1 went to school at Alabama with Shelby Mills. They were in classes together, and Shelby married Connor. So Shelby saw Chris's post on Facebook and went to Connor and said, "Hey, there's a chance for you to play Big Brother online, and it's
That's
through
so
my friend's friend." And so that, and I said this in the introduction podcast way back when, that like it was one of those moments where I felt like I had something. When I remember I was texting Connor Mills, who I did not know, who's about to send me money to play this game, and at the time, I have just remembered this. He was kind of an alternate because I think I had 15, maybe even 16 people lined up. I don't even remember who those other people were. And I remember Connor came in with a really excited application and he really wanted to play. And I was like, I got to get this guy in. I got to figure out how to get him in. And it worked out. I forget if someone dropped or ghosted me or whatever. We got him in. But, and just, anyway, so that's how it's broken up. You have your 10 people that work for CKM in some capacity. Really kind of from the top, like Justin is runs the ministry, and several of them were in the office several of them were in the office at times. Several of them had just worked through summer camp, and so they were off doing their own thing. So some of them were the people that were physically together through the entirety of the season were Justin, Greg, Sarah, and Matt. Justin, Greg, Sarah, and Matt. And Matt wasn't in the office. Like he didn't work. He works there now. Actually, he just got a new job there. But he was working somewhere else. But he was in Anderson. So you have those 4 people that are actually physically together, and then the rest of them are kind of scattered, but everyone knows who they are. So that's the makeup.
Yeah. And what's fun about it is that yes, they're connected, but they play like they're not. In a sense, there's some of them that do, but there's so much mistrust that especially between people like Greg and Justin, who I think the vibe that I pick up on it, and you feel free to tell me if I'm incorrect, but it was kind of like a who was gonna get who first kind of deal, like for fun between them, because they're like really good friends and they obviously help run the ministry together, and it was just kind of like a game of sport to say like who was gonna get the other person out first.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I think it weighed on Justin a little bit more. I think he was more stressed about it more often, but that is essentially what happened. By the way, I didn't say this at the top, or maybe I did, but this particular episode of the podcast is going to cover episodes 1 through 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then the second part will cover episodes 4, 5, and 6. So, if you haven't watched episodes 1, 2, and 3, go do that. They're not that long. You can watch them really fast on 1.5 speed, or if you're like our friend Dan Alt, shout out to Dan, he watches things on 3x. I don't know how that I can get 2x, like. And understand what's going on and have a good. I've never tried to watch something on 3x, but it sounds difficult.
That's just called background noise at that point,
right? Yeah. And maybe you guys are listening to us right now on 3x, and
God, I do not want to hear my voice on 3x speed.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't want to hear your voice on 3x speed. So this episode opens with a very fun confessional, and we don't have to go confessional by confessional, but we should open it up with the Matt confessional. I'm sorry about the audio. It's the one confessional that you have to really crank up the audio to hear what Matt's saying. But I think that was more of like maybe a GroupMe translation video function like issue. But Matt, I really love every Matt confessional because he, like many in season 1, takes like the diary room persona, and it's very enjoyable.
He's so earnest, right?
Yeah.
Like he's so earnest in how he speaks, and he's like, you can tell he's kind of living for the drama.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, Greg is making 100 alliances,
right.
and like, did you guys hear about this alliance he made to specifically target Justin, and then the second alliance that he made that had Justin in it. So I have no idea what's going on, but
but look out.
Yeah.
anytime now it could be Greg going home. Like we'll see. Like it's very fun, and I just have such a great time. I remember like as that season went along, I never took Matt like as a contender until like the very end, and I was like, wait, Matt could win. Like Matt could really win, and Matt would have been a really fantastic winner. And part like I love the Connor win story, but like if there's an alternate timeline where Matt wins the season, I think that's a really fun one too. But it's a fun way to open the season because it is a good tone setter.
Mhm.
And he says something interesting that I want to point out. He says Greg is not doing the smart thing and he's texting everyone instead of doing the smart thing, which is call people. And there's this misconception, I believe, in the BBH lore that no one called anyone in the early season. And that's just not true. Like people called people. It just wasn't on Skype. And like, but because a lot of these people knew each other, they had their numbers. And even if they didn't, they got each other's number. And they would they would call each other and they would talk. And people called not to the volume that we have today, of course, where like any time at any season, I can look on my phone and someone is calling someone. But people did call in the early seasons.
But I wonder too if that was just out of the necessity because there wasn't a no screenshot rule at
Right.
that point in time. So like I like if I was playing a game where I knew that screenshots were allowed, I would not put anything in writing.
Right.
Everything would be a voice memo, or it would be over a call because there'd be no point in putting anything down in writing that you don't want to be held accountable for.
Right.
Um, but I wonder if that was more out of necessity rather than ease, like because
Yeah.
they wanted to.
Yeah, and that's what Matt's getting at when he says the smart thing to do is to call people so that you can't be like, there's no receipts in that sense. So, and I remember in those early days, that was exciting to me. I wanted people to call each other. I wanted people to talk like voice to voice about the game that was happening. And of course, a lot of these people were physically together, like we said. And so they probably had a lot of conversations during work hours instead of working. I'm confident that instead of working, they were playing this game. There were many a times throughout the season. These are the calls I wish I had documented, but I don't because they were just phone calls. Justin called me over and over and over again through that season just to like do his confessional essentially, where he would just talk through things and I would have to sit there and like we do now and just ask questions, just talk and let him figure things out on his own. But anyway, so yeah, that's where we kind of kick this off
And
with Matt's
can,
confessional.
can you give us an estimation by just by your remembrance of like what Greg was doing? Was he just trying to be messy? Was he just being chaotic for fun? Like what was he just being bad at the game? Like what was his thought process and plan?
I remember and we see this in a confessional later, but there's like a slight delusion that he's playing well. And he's not. I don't so part of me it's that he's just playing bad, but he's just playing aggressive. Um he I mean him and Gray both clearly learn from how they play in the season and take their individual personalities and styles and adapt them for their future games. And and I think that's in spades with Greg. Where because we do see the villain energy when he goes on to win a season, but in this it's just like I'm Greg, I'm the villain. You are going to fear me at all costs. I don't even care if you vote me out of this game, you're still gonna fear me.
Yeah.
And so whatever that meant for Greg, I wasn't in all the chats
And this is
like we are now.
this is fully a character, right? He's not
Yeah.
like that in his real. I mean, he's a pastor,
Right.
so this is not. I I'm so curious, and I would be so curious to hear from him potentially about why come in and play a villain as a character, why come in and be aggressive and be so chaotic when it's kind of like the antithesis of in air quotes of who you are as a person. I
I think
find
that
it
there is
extremely
like
fascinating.
a mischievous side of Greg that is a real part of him. I was gonna say devious, but I feel like mischievous it has a much more jovial connotation. Wow, I just used a
For
lot of big
sure.
words.
Wow.
And and that's the side of Greg that he's leaning into, and he's like, I get to do this. I get to
Mhm.
I
Yeah, it's
get
an
to
escape, right? It's
right.
escapism, right? It's like I don't have to. I can be something different
Right.
here
But
in the
it's still like a
context.
part of him that he doesn't get to explore very often. So it's not like he's putting on for this whole 3 weeks. It's there's an authenticity to it, despite it being messy and despite it getting him voted out what second.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about why in a minute. Um, but I want to get to Connor's first confessional because I think that is it's probably the confessional I've watched the most in my BBH life is Connor's first confessional. I've watched it a ton of times. I've watched the season a number of times. I edited it, but like even just like for fun, this is one that I like to go back to because they're like it's the thing that like it's a confessional in the moment that the content of it is what I feared going into the season. Is that someone like Connor? I remember this is such behind the scenes stuff. Within that first week, I was back home for something or another in North Carolina, and I was with Sarah and I was with Ian and maybe even Drew. And this is so unnecessary to share, but we were at a Taco Bell, and there was like a nice like new one that they had built at that time. So we were at this Taco Bell, and Connor sent these confessionals, and he sent this one, and I remember I was like, Sarah, I am obsessed with this guy, Connor. I hope he doesn't get voted out first because he doesn't know anybody. Like, I'm so afraid, but he's so great. And we like watched his confessionals and had a great time with it. And which is funny because Sarah and Connor end up. This is what a weird time in my life. I just got a random text message from Ryan Marston. Like, he's not someone that texts me very often, but like I'm getting all these it's like the universe is conspiring to put the entire BBH2 cast in my DMs right now. But anyway, so we're there and we watch this confessional and I'm loving him, but everything he's saying is the thing I fear, that Connor's going to go out early because he doesn't know anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But he shows like this awareness of as a player. He does his homework. He figures out like this is a cast of connected people. He doesn't take that as like he doesn't throw his hands in the air and say, well, I'm sunk now. There's no point in me trying. He says, okay, I got to figure out where I fit. And I'm going to scoop up the people that don't know each other. He susses that out like this. It was not very hard with, Facebook. It's not that difficult, but he susses it out really quickly and he gets to work. And I think it's a really great start for Connor's game.
Yeah, it's so self-aware to write. Like, I mean, yes, it's easy to recognize that all these people are friends to some degree, but like there's just this really high level of self-awareness, and I really feel like in that confessional he articulates his path to the end, and it's so similar to that like that Richard Hatch confession of Survivor season 1 where he's like, I'm the winner already, write me the check, like that you get in episode 1, and you get this person articulating like, here's my path, I'm going to win the game, like I got this, like don't be afraid for me, I got this. And it's very, very fun to see from Connor and to ultimately know that he does take it the full, to the end and he wins. And that that's coming because we've watched the season, but also there's so many highs and lows within that, and it makes this confessional, the context behind it, very, very fun to see.
And I also don't want to brush over, there was a Sarah confessional in between here. And I think that Sarah is someone that is really interesting in the pre-jury phase because she's kind of a star. Like,
yes,
kind of, yeah.
She definitely would get the like robbed pre-juror award, or like she gets the big like the big hero edit of the pre-jury, like the robbed pre-juror. And she kind of really does get screwed. Like we'll get to it when we talk about the double, but basically people are just like, sorry, Sarah. Sorry, girl.
Someone's got to go. Yeah, but Sarah's kind of a star, and she talks about, she's talking in this first confessional, talking about the things that we often praise in modern Big Brother hometowns, and it's the connecting with people outside of your connections, because people have gone into pretty much every season of Big Brother hometowns knowing someone, and it's the people that are successful that are the people that connect with others. And Sarah's talking about like implementing that, and maybe in a sense she is, dare I say, hoisted by her own petard, but like she's doing a lot of the right things here and talking about that. So I do want to give like Sarah her flowers here because she really is like a pre-jury star, and I'm glad that she does play again. But even in a sense, I think that this is like really fun Sarah stuff in the early goings of
Yeah.
Big Brother Hometowns. I remember her texting me early in the season and being like, Josh, I did not think I was going to have this much fun. I'm like having the best time ever. And I remember that being like a cool moment. It's like, I'm glad. I'm like, this is the point. We're doing this for fun. They played for money too, but it was for fun.
Yeah. So if there is one person that I know is listening to this sometime in the future, it is one Gray Price. And Gray, I have one question for you. Baby, what is that button? What is what is that huge button on your shirt? That is a fashion faux pas if I ever seen one, baby. And I it was the most I didn't even listen to the confessional. I was so distracted by the button. And yeah, that's my only comment about Gray here in episode the early goings of episode 1.
Well, I will give context to the confessional and talk about what the actual game apart from his fashion choices. It had to be some kind of Alabama something. He looked very Alabama, like University of Alabama. Anyway, he's talking about the plague, classic start to the BBH season, and talking about how Ryan Dean, who thanks for giving us nothing, king of giving us nothing. There are many, but we like hear about Ryan. It's like the legend of Ryan Dean Williams is what we get throughout the season, and a couple of fun vote videos like with his trombone. But anyway, Ryan Dean apparently sent this magical list to Gray about here are the people that you need to keep safe in the plague. And I believe that list included people like Ryan Marston and allegedly Greg and maybe Devin, pretty much like this other side, which we'll talk about, like kind of the sides. And Gray's like really sketched out by that. He's like, first, the funny thing I thought was so funny was he says, "Why am I not on that list?" Which I think is really funny because like if you're talking to someone about it, like I feel like this was like
You're
maybe
on the list.
Right. But you know, maybe he wasn't. I don't know. But anyway. We this doesn't lead us too far into the HOH, so I want to give us the plague list.
Oh, perfect.
Who plagued who? So it started out with someone getting safety, and that person was the star of the pre-jury, Sarah O'Neill. And we're gonna see not much of the sides that we're gonna ultimately see throughout the game, as opposed to BBH1, where we saw clearly the couples, the non-couples, they're going to go back and forth, or the anti-couples, rather. That's what they call themselves. This is not quite that. This is more of the we know each other to the people we don't, but that's not where this game goes. So anyway, Sarah plagues Daniel. Cut to Daniel's confessional where he says, "Thank God I got hit with the plague. I think I can survive this. Here's my kiss of death." So then Daniel plagues someone he isn't or is on that connected list, Ryan Dean. Ryan Dean throws it back, hits Abby. Abby gets Emma. Emma goes Connor. Connor goes Devin. And then Devin kind of breaks it up because now we're out of people that we don't really know, almost out of people. And Devin goes Greg. And then Greg is messy and goes Matt. Matt hits Trey Robb, who hits Gray. Gray hits Marston. Marston hits Caroline. Caroline hits Trey Smith. So that means that Trey is left between Justin and somebody. Who is Justin left with? Or no. Oh, Caroline hits Trey. Trey's the last person, therefore deeming Justin the HOH. Which to me is like so on brand. Like Justin winning the first HOH is like a really on brand thing for him in my mind, because to so many people in this group, Justin is their head of household.
Yeah.
He is their authority. From any like interaction, any of these people have been under his authority at some point in time. That know him at least. And so it just like it made very much sense for Justin to be the first head of household. I should have pulled up this video. I feel like I'm talking a lot but I have a lot of memory of this. I should have found this video, but I just thought of it. Justin, the day he wins HOH was one of the days where Jenny and I were in the like leading up days to either closing on this house or like buying it or looking at it or something. We were doing something with this house, and Jenny is downstairs in our living room, which was empty at the time because we didn't own the house yet. And Justin had texted me and said, I don't know how to do this. Meaning, he was like, what should I say? Like in my video, like what should I do? And we filmed a fake HOH video of Jenny pretending to be the HOH. I have it somewhere, and maybe I'll find it and we can watch it. But it's funny. It's just Jenny like giving a fake HOH speech
Yeah.
in our empty living room for Justin to like learn like what kind of things should I say. And so therefore we see Justin's video and he does a lot of the things that Jenny did in that video. One of them being the like, hey, it's early. And people do this every season, but like,
Sure,
hey,
yeah.
it's early. Got to go with people. I don't know if he says I haven't talked to as much or whatever, but like, just like we're still getting to know each other. There was this ruse. That the 10 CKM people were trying to pretend like they didn't know each other. And I'm
Right.
like, it didn't really work, and it didn't really have any effect on anything. But I remember like in the first days they did like their introductions in the group chat and everyone was acting like they didn't know who each other were. And I was like, this is just kind of silly. But Justin plays the like we're still getting to know each other card. And in a sense everyone's getting to know each other in a game context, which is very different than even if you do know these people forever. Once you get in that game context, it changes things. And it's something that I'm even still learning in the few times I play a game. Time capsule moment. I just finished up getting booted from Subversion season Ground Zero. I don't know where this lands in history at the time you're listening to this. It could be a very distant past, a very distant memory. But there's a lot of people in that game that I knew and was friends with. But having to make that shift and then having a game relationship with people, it changes things. And all of a sudden, like you can't just rely on your friendships as much.
Right.
And so that's what, and so whether Justin meant it that way or not is one thing, but like in a sense, he is truthfully saying, I'm trying to get to know everybody because I need to get to know people on a game level. And therefore, he nominates Daniel and my favorite nomination, Trey Raub, R-A-U-B, Trey Raub. That's how he says it. The correct pronunciation is Trey Rob, like as if it was R-O-B. But I just R-A-U-B, Trey Raub. It's just how he says
I
it.
love
It's very funny.
Yeah, it's like feels like pretty inconsequential noms, honestly, like in the scheme of things. But like it does cut us to this really fun confessional of Trey where he's like, well, I had a strategy and it turns out that was not a great strategy.
Right.
Like, and I mean, and we come to find out that the strategy was to not talk to the person who
Right.
around HOH. So yeah, not good strategy, but you know,
Yeah, he rested on his laurels a little bit, and he said, "I talked to Trey Smith, who had talked to Justin, and I thought we were in the clear." And it wouldn't surprise me if there was a little bit of an intimidation factor of Trey talking to Justin, because the only relationship that Trey has to Justin is seeing him on a stage in front of 1,000 people. That is the context that Trey knows Justin. And
Yeah.
like he knows that Justin is friends with people that are connected to him closely, but he's never had a relationship with him. So he was like, so maybe he's kind of avoiding, like, how do I like approach this guy? I don't know him. I just know him as this person that's been on a stage. Like, so anyway, like that's just, fun behind the scenes thing that I thought about. I remember thinking about those things at the time. But Trey is a calculated person, and therefore tries to be a calculated player. Doesn't always work for him, but he does that. And so he quickly assesses, okay, this didn't work. So we're going to have to adjust that if I want to have any success in this game. And good for him. And we see Trey have success, not necessarily in this season, but in others.
Yes. We the next thing that we see is Caroline, the veto holder. Girl, what is that video? Like, did you have a like razor, like a Motorola razor that you were using to film it? We do not know.
But it's our one Caroline video, and it is
And
immortalized
it
forever.
is a blown up image of her nose. Like it is literally just like
She probably has no clue that exists on the internet right now, which is really funny. But yeah, that is very much there. We also get a Connor confessional. I just want to point this out, and he says something to the effect of, so Justin's HOH, and he told me that he randomly nominated these two people. for anyone in the future and everyone in the history of time, if anyone ever tells you that they randomly selected their nominations, they are lying.
But wasn't there that one time in BBH 5?
Lying. They are lying. And I can't wait to rant on that, but I'm going to save that because that deserves its rant in the BBH 5 chapter. So if you're seeing this, that probably exists. Go listen to that rant. It's really good. But yeah, if anyone ever says they randomly selected, it's always not true. It's always a lie because no one is ever going to randomly select the nominations because it is asinine to do so. So anyway, so yeah, Caroline doesn't use the veto, keeps the noms. We're still getting to know each other. She claims whatever. And then we get a lot of votes for Daniel. My favorite being the vote from Emma. Because this was 2018, so this is the height of Mason Ramsey. If who knows when you're listening to this in the history of time, if you don't recall who Mason Ramsey is, he was the little yodeling kid that yodeled in Walmart and became a sensation. And who knows what he's up to right now? But this was at the height of the Mason Ramsey craze, and I think if I'm guessing correctly, somehow Daniel found out that Emma was a Ramsey stan, and so he tried to appeal to that sense in her to gain her vote. And so I never saw the video, so I don't know. He lip sank to a Mason Ramsey something, and so Emma's like, that was weird. He's disrespecting the prince, and therefore evicts Daniel.
Yeah, I had marked that too, but that context makes it so much better. I did not know that existed.
Another quick behind the scenes. When I'm recording this eviction video, I'm actually at Justin's house. So Justin's right there here.
Is it that when he yells in the back? Is that the video where he?
No, that's in the double. We'll get there, and that's that. I'll save who that yeller is. But it is someone that we've talked about in our lifetime. So yeah, so I'm at Justin's house. That's just a fun fact. So he's there for that first one, and we get our first Trey Smith confessional right afterwards. She talked. The biggest bit of information for me is that she talks about essentially her final two alliance with Connor, which Connor puts more into context over and over again throughout the season. But Trey also confirms said plan that she is in with Connor, and that's just obviously an important thing to note.
Yeah, and we'll see this throughout the rest of this pre-jury phase. They have so much power the entire time. Whether Trey is HOH, whether Connor is HOH, whether one of them wins the veto, the two of them have their fingerprints all over this. And I know you're probably gonna say Connor has his fingerprints all over this, and Trey is there with him, but she's in this as just as much.
Yeah. Well, what I'm gonna say is I think they make poor decision after poor decision, both of them, all the way to the end.
I guess I wasn't as upset by some of the decisions in the pre-jury. Obviously there are fumbles towards the jury and towards the end, but
the first time they get power is that double eviction, which is kind of we'll get there. So that's the big thing, and I think there's more interesting things to talk about in the middle section of the game where I think they make some weird decisions, and then I think they start playing very well at the end. But like I said, we'll get to that. Okay, most important maybe confessional of the whole season is a 5-second confessional from Greg. He pops on the screen and he says, "There's a Thailand alliance and I know it, and I'm just buying my time." And so if you have no idea what that means, here's what that means. This is in the fall of 2018. In the fall of 2017, myself, Justin, Gray, Caroline, Emma, and Matt Holloman all went to Thailand on a mission trip. Also, Jayla Jones, season 7 rock star. But she's not on the season, so not important. So all those people went to Thailand together on a mission trip. And so Greg is now just saying, there's a Thailand alliance, and I know it. I just know it. And here's the fun fact. There is not one. There is not one at this point.
Right.
And that is very important. So then So I think these two confessionals back to back are really important. So we get Greg on the Thailand Alliance, and then we get, man, I'm really loving this season. This is a lot of fun stuff here. Then Connor on the lay of the land. We get the Connor lay of the land confessional, essentially. And he pretty much has it for the most part. I don't think it's 100% accurate, but this is what he says. He says we have Ryan, Greg, and Devin as a side. And I think that is kind of true. I don't think Greg is really in that side, but he's being lumped in because he's a target in of that group of people that is being targeted potentially by another side. And that other side being Gray, Justin, Caroline, and Matt, what he deems. That leaves himself, Abby, and Trey, which then takes out Sarah and Emma from the puzzle. But as this develops, we know that Sarah and Emma fit into the Gray, Justin, Caroline, Matt side of things, right. The Thai alliance. And so that's the lay of the land. And then Connor says something really important. He says, we can pit these two sides against each other and let them take each other out. This is fantastic, is what Connor says. And I don't think even
what he does to an extent.
Yeah, this is what happens, and that's really exciting. It's not even something that I don't think I really put together until this particular rewatch, that he puts the lay of the land out there, and it happens. So we get to the HOH competition. The HOH competition is very important to the story of the season, but it does not get quite told in the episodes. So here I am. This is a competition we haven't done in a long, long time. Probably won't ever do again because it's just fine. But it plays a big role in the season. So maybe we'll bring it back. Who knows? It's called Deep Undercover. We did it in season 1, where every person submits their like fun secret agent name. No one knows who submitted what names, and then all the players vote for their favorite. Whoever has the most votes wins the HOH. I actually still think this is a kind of a fun competition in a sense, because you're like, you don't know who belongs to who, and you just vote. So I have all of the names. Fun fact.
Oh, okay. I love this.
I might as well give them because they're fun. And I'll save the most important one for the end. We have Agent Scar, Michael Scarn, starring in Threat Level Midnight. We have Clint Peterson, Tony, Agent Mike Drop, Jesse James Covalent Bond, Captain Carrots, good old SpongeBob reference, Smitty Werbin Jaegerman Jensen, Vanko Brick Wall Bolshevik. This one's so good. Oh, okay, I didn't read this until right now. It's blonde, dumb blonde strikes pose. Special Agent Jimmy Dean. We have Atticus. Okay. My future nephew's son, actually, probably the time you're listening to this, my nephew's son, my nephew's name, son. I keep saying son. My nephew's name, Atticus, and then we have Grandma Gladys, and then that's a good one too. But then we have the most important name that was submitted by Greg Wells, and doesn't get no one really knows that Greg submitted it, maybe ever, but the name is Agent. So it's a 2-word name. Agent is the first word. The second word is all one word. It's so funny. The name is all one word. Matt, Caroline, Justin, Gray are the Thailand Alliance. Make me HOH if you want to break them up 3,000.
The drama.
So
I would, if someone did that and I was playing in a game with them, I would vote for that. I 100% would vote for that. How did he not win?
So I looked at this too. I looked to see who gave him votes, and I think only Connor gave that a vote. Maybe Trey, Rob. But let me just, if you missed it, Agent Matt, Caroline, Justin Gray are the Thai Lions. Make me HOH if you want to break them up 3,000.
Oh, that's so good.
It's so good. So yeah, so that's the name that Greg submits, and it starts to stir things up. Obviously, people were pretty stunned by that name being submitted, and I think in the moment I thought it was really stupid, but like in the current time, I think it's quite hilarious.
That's it. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's
Um,
pretty great. So this ends us getting a gray HOH. We end with a gray HOH here, which
I
uh,
okay, so I'm gonna jump in because I love this confessional. It's not really a confessional. It's his nomination speech from Gray, where he just says, um, "Oh, and by the way, Ryan, you sent me this list of all these people that I'm supposed to keep safe, and I just feel like everybody should know that." And just like knowing Gray, like in the way that Gray is and the way he speaks, like in my head, I just hear him saying like "XOXO Gossip Girl" at the end, like
right.
after he's said it, like
Yeah, it's pretty
thinking
plain matter of fact that he just like states this.
yeah, and thinking that he did something. Like like, I
Well,
just want everybody to know. Everybody needs to know
right.
that
Well, and the difference in this gray and future grays, or the future gray that plays BBH, is that there's a level of comfort here. These are people he knows, so he can be this way, and he can
Mhm,
just like do these things and just be like whatever, because people know him, and they're like, he knows that he's not risking much in his personal life or his friendship life or anything by
right.
playing this way, and so he's able to do it. One thing I remember from the gray HOH in every capacity is there was no thought. Well, there was thought process, but there was no like it was like, all right, congratulations, Gray, you've won the HOH. Nomination submit, like done. Like we're there was no time wasted. He knew what he wanted to do and he did it. And so he nominates both the Ryans. Um, we get Connor with a great line that says, like, because there's a lot of behind the scenes knowing that this is a plan to get Greg backdoored. Um, which is funny because they don't even realize that he's the one that submitted that name. Um, but like,
It's also so interesting to me because this is the round 2. It's round 2, and you're making a very, like, huge backdoor. Like, just put Greg up. Like,
right,
it's like you have so many more opportunities to get him out if he survives this week. Just put him up. Like, why are you putting and Connor talks about it too, where he's like, Gray, you're gonna lather yourself in the blood of the people in this game, and I'm you're gonna make a huge target out of yourself. And he's not wrong.
right.
He Gray catapults himself into the spotlight. And for what? Just put Greg on the block
Right.
immediately.
And he
Like,
definitely could have done that because Gray and Greg are two people that didn't really know each other. Like they're connected in this way, but they like when Gray worked summer camp, Greg wasn't there. Like so, like they never really. I don't know if they've ever been in person together. Like I don't think that they had that relationship. So, Greg and some points down the stretch that we'll get to tries to, and we will get to in this particular chapter, tries to build some bonds between the two of them. Doesn't really work, and we'll break that down then. But anyway, so yeah, he has the backdoor plan. Connor's like, you're going to lather yourself in blood for doing this, and yeah, Greg then comes on with a confessional talking about submitting the Ty Alliance name into the competition, and he's like, "But the one thing I have to worry for is if this veto gets used and Gray wants to backdoor me." But the reason I said what I said earlier about Greg feeling like he was playing well is because he says in this confession, he's like, "I think I'm doing pretty good," and well. Similar to some others, like
so, yeah.
that thought they were doing pretty good, they are booted pretty early. So and then we get another fun Greg. We get a series of fun Greg confessionals, basically predicting his battle back. Talking
Yeah.
about he's I'd like to submit to the game master that I come back as a zombie house guest on Halloween and haunt the house guests for the rest of our lives. And then Gray puts Greg on the block. Greg comes in with the everyone's game is garbage. I'm burning this house down. Even if I go out, I will be back if I'm given a chance. Like all these things. And so Greg just like is running a blaze as he does the whole season, really.
Yeah. It's so
And it's very
fun.
fun.
It's so good. It's firstly, it's very entertaining. It's great television. And and you know, love him or hate him, incredibly polarizing character. Um and like I feel like I could just watch him on TV
Mhm.
all day. Like
Yeah.
I would watch a Greg Wells reality TV show. So
Oh, I absolutely would. I mean, I'm sure he's just fun to watch, like with his three boys, like just around the house, just being crazy. Like, yeah, he's just entertaining in every way. Also, just to plug all of Greg Wells' talents, if you have not heard him sing, he's got a beautiful voice, like incredible. And he leads worship at New Spring. So like, if you're a South Carolina person, you want to go hear him. Anyway, it's not the point, but we just love Greg very much. But he's coming back, so we're not done with Greg. But he is very much evicted. Um,
oh
um,
yeah, not without some drama. Like he really pressures people for their vote. It seems like he really pressures people for their vote, but to no avail. Like he's absolutely going out here. But it gives us the very fun Sarah like, I'm sending you my fake video that I can send to Greg, but then I'm just giving you the heads up that I'm going to send my real video, and I don't know. It's just very fun. A very
it's the
fun
fear. It's the fear
content.
tactics. Greg is like trying to make people fear him, which they kind of do. Like, what's the point of sending a fake video to get it booted unanimously
In the
in the
pre-jury, like
pre-jury?
in the pre-jury, mind you, Greg does not have a vote.
Right.
Greg does not have a vote for the
Greg has
winner.
nothing. He has nothing.
He is literally about to be the second boot of the game. Like, sorry, babe, but you're going home. Like,
And I feel like that there's in a normal season where like, well, I don't know. Greg could have done something to pull himself out of this because, you know, we always talk about how unanimous votes aren't necessarily always best for everybody. But in this case, when you have someone that's just being so villainous, so for lack of a better word, you just kind of gotta get that kind of energy out of the house, which makes it all the more fun when he does come back,
Mhm.
because the fear is just
It's
there's
real.
is real.
You can feel it. Like you
Yeah.
can literally feel it.
But we'll save that because so Greg comes on pretty much after the eviction, um, with a lot of things. But one of
I
them,
I
go
just
ahead.
did that. I just did that.
Yeah.
Baby, the
Oh,
main character syndrome is jumping out.
yeah, yeah.
It's yes, Gray, you did backdoor Greg, but like we said earlier, for what?
For
For
what?
you to become a huge target, for you to like catapult yourself into the spotlight, like but then it's just the way Greg, Gray, who I absolutely love and adore, he lives for himself.
Yeah. Don't we all?
He truly lives for himself. And I just see him, I can just put myself like in that space where he's filming and he's like, "Y'all, I did it. I took out the villain. Like I'm the
And there's like,
hero."
I think I cut it down too because I think there's a lot of him talking about this. He was just so excited, he's so amped up. I think
Yeah.
it's mainly that, and like I appreciate that. I don't like. Yes, he did that. Yes, he was the one that did it. And yes, he got Greg out unanimously and all these things. But at the same time, it wasn't that
'Cause
hard.
everybody wanted him to do
Yeah,
it. Like
yeah, it wasn't.
it wasn't like he was like, "I'm pulling this trigger. I'm getting the people that I
I
need to."
need right,
Versus like when the move we'll talk about later, that Gray masterfully pulls off, like
right,
that's his move. This
right,
is, this is just Gray living the fantasy.
right. This is a notch on the belt that if he were to have made it to the final two, he would have.
Right.
But and it's fun. Like, and he does, like I said, he gets to play comfortably in a game where he knows all these people, so he can play big. Like I said, when we did the word association, I said he plays big, and he does, and good on him. Like it is fun. You to make these big moves. And I'm not even saying it was a bad move. Like when everyone wants something to happen, that is like a typical early HOH move to get out an easy house target.
Right.
The only problem is that Greg was larger than life. That's what makes it different than as opposed to whether he could have taken out Ryan Dean or Trey or Ryan Mars or just one of these Devin, like, one of these people that just are inconsequential. It's a similar thing, but it's Greg. And
Mhm.
that's what makes it like more verbose, if you will.
Yeah. So I'm realizing as I look through my notes that I didn't really write down a ton of quotes from the confessionals. I kind of paraphrased a lot of like what I felt like the people were saying
Right.
because because there's this confessional after this confessional from from Trey S where she's talking about like Greg kind of like came for her a little bit on his way out the door, and she really says something to the effect of like, I don't know why he's saying this because he didn't really talk to me
Yeah,
all
he
that
hasn't
much. We
spoken to
didn't
me, right?
really like. We really didn't even. And I just I just like in my head I just see Trey being like, stay pressed, be blessed, Craig." Like it's
Yeah.
literally like she's like, "I don't have time for you." Like
Right.
she's like, I feel like she's like one of the only people that's like not buying into Greg's BS. You know,
No,
like where
no.
she's like, "I'm not gonna be afraid of this man who I do not know and do not care about."
Right. Yeah. That is true. That is true. Um, a couple of just minor things, which actually are pretty big, but like things that we know are coming. Gray talks about Greg speaking the Thai Lions into existence, um, and why I believe that that is true in some extent that he did speak into existence. I think this was coming. I think this alliance was going to happen. Like it
Mhm.
basically was already happening, but now it just kind of became official that all those Thailand people got together. We get the Matt Alliance. We got a new alliance in town coming your way this fall. 6 on the beach to the end. Like it's
I,
so funny. Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna say something potentially shady, and well, it is shady, but it's potentially inappropriate. Like, not all the Christians making a sex joke.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, they love that. They love that.
like it's like,
They feel so cool.
yeah, like it's so
It's a
cool.
good name. It's a good
No,
name.
in terms of names that include numbers,
Right. It's a good
this
one.
is definitely better than some of the others in Big Brother Hometowns
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's other ones
I'm
that are
looking
just
at you, Baker's dozen.
I don't well yeah, that's a different thing. But I do want to say about the 6 on the beach thing. Um, this is the name that gets etched into history because of the episodes, but this name changes like a million times. At one point, they're 6 on the beach. At one point, they're the 6 snakes. At one point, they're the Thai lions. Like it just they never have like a real designated name. But 6 on the beach has the confessional, so that's what kind of really I don't remember, and maybe we'll see it in the second half of the season where maybe the 6 snakes gets named a little bit, but or the Thai lions, but it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
It's all some amalgamation of these people. Sarah also comes in at the end of the episode and discusses the alliance. Nothing really earth
No,
shattering.
no, there is something important here to talk about. And
Oh, I think I was
it
going to say.
it is the way that Sarah continuously refuses to say that she has befriended people in this game. It sends me. She's like, she'll be like, you know, I've made friends. Well, not not real. Like, I made acquaintance with people. Like,
Yeah.
girl,
So
like just
build
say that.
relationships, rapport.
Yeah,
Like,
she just refuses to acknowledge that she likes these people enough to call them her friends,
right,
and it is so funny to me because it's like it's so inconsequential, but it's
right.
so funny the way that you can actively see her attempting not to say, like she doesn't know Trey Smith or Connor from a hole in the wall, but she grows to enjoy them,
Right.
and she she will
I
not
think
call
that
them.
Connor and Sarah still like every now and again like share a text or like a
Yeah,
book recommendation or something. So
it's so funny to me that she refuses to call them her friends um over and over again in every confessional that she gives.
yeah, that's a good point. I had that thought, but I'm glad you brought that to light. That's very good. That's very good. So that brings us. I mean, I'm in no hurry, but we're an hour and 12 minutes in, and we're now on to episode 2. um, I think that there's just a ton. There's a ton in episode 1. There's a ton in episode 3. I think that we're gonna have a little less to
Yeah.
worry about, and we're kind of already talking about it a little bit because I think the high on this vengeance gray content is actually here in episode 2. Um,
Yes, it is.
we get Greg we do get like one last Greg thing where he says, tis tis, don't play with fire when he's out of the game, but he just knows that he's going to get a shot to come back in. He may even have he may officially know it at the point of recording that confessional, being
Mhm.
added to whatever like battle back chat that we had at the time.
So yes, so Sarah nominates Ryan D and Devin. Abby wins the veto, and we did skip over an Abby confessional earlier, and I want to ask for clarification. She meant in the video she's talking. I don't remember what she's talking about, but she mentions a we, and I believe the we is her, Trey Rob, Trey Smith, and Connor. Is that?
Probably so.
I
Yeah.
think that was the four.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's really our first exposure to Abby in this season outside of her voting. Um, it's a very young Abby,
Yeah.
very young, like very fresh Abby Baxley
No
to
idea the journey she's about to go on.
really,
And yeah.
really and truly. Um, but it's always fun to see her, and
Yes.
she is a good confessional giver and narrator when she gives them. So
And we
I
start to also see start to see a little bit of the villain side of Connor through his confessionals.
mhm.
He does the like, oh, poor Connor, all alone in the cold, no one wants to work with me, and then he hits you with a yeah, right.
Spite.
Yeah, right. And then we're off. So starting to see a little bit of the like Connor getting his sea legs under him and seeing the real like Connor Mills that we all know and love, which is enjoyable. Um,
She and Abby also in her video, she says something. This season truly is the season of like, hey, it's time to give my nomination or my veto speech. Let me throw somebody under the bus and expose them for something. I forget what she says, but she I wrote down she throws Devin under the bus in some capacity for something that he did, but
Well,
it's
here's what I have, and Sarah basically says that like everyone said that Ryan and Devin should go up. Like I've asked around, and these are the people that everyone said, and so this is interesting because this is a topic of conversation you see in a season of Big Brother where the HOH will you know go poll the house. He or she will talk with whoever, and who should go up. And sometimes you have either a Sarah HOH or you have a BBH11 Blake Radcliffe HOH, where either the people that you hear named, all right, the house wants
Mhm.
Ryan and Devin up. All right, Ryan and Devin are going up. Or you have the Blake Radcliffe. Oh, everyone wants, I don't remember who it was at the time. Who Davey and Mark maybe. Everyone wants Davey and Mark up. Okay, I'm gonna put Justin and K-Pow up. And
Right.
let's actually like play this game. And so granted, two different situations, but this is a thought process. Like Sarah could have said, okay, these are people that everyone wants up. Does that mean that's good for me? But because we're still under, she is now more on this side that is pitted against this other side, like Connor said. This is a reasonable move for her to put these two people up.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Connor gives us like this small confessional about like he wants Devin to go. He wants to lead the charge to flip the vote on Devin. Okay, Connor,
Sure.
like
Yeah, sure.
yeah, live your life. And
Hope you
and
had
Devin,
fun.
yeah. Devin goes home 10-0. And once again, Emma is just the queen of fully not caring at all
Okay,
about.
so this is the round of guest voters. So we have in this round Emma at Mexican, Justin with his kids, Ryan Dean voting with his friend at the marching band in the stands, Trey with his cousin, and then me evicting them with Belle and Minnie on my laps. So this is the round of the guest voters, the guest appearances in the voters. But yeah, Emma at Mexican, drinking a margarita. Who we vote now, everybody? Oh yeah, Devin. All right, see you later. Back to my quesadilla. Like just yeah, Queen All Star Emma. I wrote. Here's what I wrote about Devin. I wrote, "Ghost Devin, bye bye." So I want to give Devin some credit. There is a Devin confessional in the ether or the internet. The problem with that confessional is I don't know what happened to his audio, but you have to like turn it all the way up and press it against your ear to hear the words he's saying to the point where it's like this is
It's not
useless.
even worth
It's not worth it. It would have been nice to hear from him. I love Devin. He's a very great person, good friend, but like um
Bye.
inconsequential. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
very.
Ghost Devin. Bye bye.
Yeah. So we jump right
Right
into
into.
Trey Smith's HOH, her first one of 3, I believe. Like, she kinda snapped, not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
lie.
First of 2, yeah.
Um, she nominates Ryan D and Caroline. And this is where, for me, it really is coming into more clear focus that Trey and Connor really do have so much power throughout these first, like, 3 or 4 boots. Um, Not that it's, like, necessarily, like, them dictating who goes home, but they are working both sides, like they said they would, like Connor articulated that they would. They can go from side to side, they can blend in over here versus blend in over there, and, I it's when you try to, like, find the moment that, like, when does the winner win their season, or, how do you know that they're gonna make it super far? Like, I think this was the moment of some focus for me, of, like, Connor and Trey winning HOH and veto back to back, and really just getting to dictate whatever the heck they wanted to happen this round.
Yeah, yes and no. I agree with what you're saying, and I think from the episodic perspective and the story that, we're being told through the edit that I did, this that you can get there, and I think that's fine. I think it's a great story to tell, but I don't want to undersell the power that the Tie Alliance has in
Mhm.
this middle section of the game, and that really starts. I would like to think here, because let's see, the round before we just come off of Sarah HOH. So we come off a Justin HOH, a Gray HOH, Sarah HOH, Ty Alliance in power, no
Mhm.
problem. But now we start the stretch of the season where the Ty Alliance does not have actual power and now
Mhm.
has to
Maneuver it.
manufacture it themselves. So and they do a good job here. So
Yeah.
if you look at this nomination set and you see, okay, you see Trey Smith as HOH. She puts up Ryan Dean, who's over here, Caroline, who's over here. I'm here in this. Like this game really is. There's 3 groups, and she puts one from each group up. And I think this is kind of at the like maneuvering of people in the tie lines. Probably Justin a lot. Probably Matt. Probably Gray. 3 people that did a good job of keeping their relationships with other people, especially people in that third group. The Trey, Connor, Abby, Trey group mainly.
Yeah.
Mainly Connor and Trey Smith. Like that's the nucleus of it. The people that were probably and maybe a little bit Abby, but especially those guys or those 2. And so you see them get one of each up, and that's exactly what the Tie Alliance, the best they could hope for, outside
Right.
of not being on the block, is that if I'm going to be on the block, I'm going to be on the block with someone from the other side because that means
Mhm.
I have the numbers. And we see this, and this isn't necessarily this. This isn't a move that I'm going to blast into outer space because I don't think it's that bad. It's fine, but we see many moves in Big Brother where someone does this. They're like, and we're going to see it in a moment. We're going to see it
Mhm.
we're going to see it twice in episode 3. Whereas like you have your target or targets, and you put them up to someone who does not guarantee that they are going to go home as you would want because
Right.
you got to put 2 of them up. And this is not that as much because we're still early and the game's still in its development. And Trey doesn't need to make a huge move here. But by putting Ryan Dean and Caroline up, you're giving the Tie Alliance their first chance to continue to grow their power,
Right.
to continue to get stronger by staying alive while they're weakening at least one of the other sides. And
Mhm.
what's even better, I mean, what's great for them is they weaken a side. It doesn't necessarily play out this way, but they weaken a side, and then you take Trey Smith out of the equation for the next round
Right.
from the other side, giving them the best odds going into the next round, which will be the double eviction. Connor wins the power of veto, teases this idea of a maybe Justin backdoor or Matt backdoor. I think this is a bit of stage setting in terms of the story. Connor doesn't use the power of veto. Sure, he could have. Um, if he would have done this, he would have had to pull Ryan Dean off the block to get Justin or Matt up, and then I
Right.
guarantee you that Caroline would go home in
Yeah.
that situation. So probably not worth it. He probably doesn't realize that, but not worth it early on. Connor, in the early stages of this game, is doing a very good job of being likable
Mhm.
and being people enjoy. That does not last.
Oh, it's
Um,
about to end. Oh, it's about to
yeah,
end so fast.
yeah. And and it doesn't necessarily end well. It ends for a number of reasons, but it's about to end really fast. But Connor is playing a very good social game up to this point, and so him using the veto here to make this move at this juncture does not feel super necessary.
Right.
So, but it's the first round, and this is important, where the Thai Alliance is not in power. We're gonna hear Gray talk about this at some point in the season. Not in power, but they stay intact. Similar to we've seen this in Real Big Brother. We saw it, this season with the cookout. I mean, they did that a lot. So
Yep.
it's a similar kind of gameplay we see here. So Ryan Dean is toast and toasty. See you later.
Goodbye.
Never to be heard from again. We love Ryan Dean Williams. He is he's a music teacher out in Texas right now, I believe. Obviously plays the trombone. You've seen that. So he's just like he's got real Ryan Dean has fun dad energy. Definitely like an Eric Taylor kind of energy has Ryan Dean. Just not really an org player. And this is where before we get to episode 3, we get one of the best. It's not really confessional. It's a vote video from Gray. Gray driving in his car for the millionth time. He says, "Hey Josh, I'm driving into Atlanta again. Everyone sucks at driving, but me. We have to stop meeting like this." Just a fun line from Gray.
He's a good confessional giver.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, we also see Trey Smith and her adorable child, who at this point is literally 3 years older than that. But that's the only visual I have of. I guess I follow Trey on Instagram, but I guess I haven't seen her lately there, so I don't know how big her child is at this point. But he's probably still very adorable.
Probably. All right, I'm ready to talk about episode 3. There's so much exciting things. It's one of the best episodes of Big Brother Hometowns history, I think. Yeah. It's the first double, so that's incredibly exciting in of itself. But it's also there's just some really high level gameplay happening, and it proves that you can play without having the power. Mm-hmm. You can still play powerfully without having the power, and it's something that Gray really, really shows in this round, and definitely very impressive gameplay and a big blunder from Connor.
Oh yeah.
The eventual winner of the season.
Right. So the episode opens. I want to be able to pat myself on the back. We see a real clean shot of me with the screen, the double eviction up. I have a nice camera at this point. We're seeing the production level just kind of slowly starting to turn up a little bit. Real nice shot for me. We get that. Then we also get, it's kind of two funny things. We also get me talking about the failed HOH competition, which it wasn't really failed. So I had this idea for essentially a live competition that would have happened just all in the group message. And it was going to be based, and I've always wanted to figure out a way to do this, but I just don't think it's ever going to work. The competition was going to be based on the game Clue in some capacity. It was going to be a deduction game of some sort where everyone had to figure out what cards everyone had to ultimately figure out who the HOH was. It just didn't work out that night, which for the better. Probably the comp wouldn't have worked very well. And we get the goodness that we get as Connor's HOH, because who knows what happens otherwise. I remember the competition ends up being some kind of chain of words they have to answer, and Connor does really well, and he wins the double eviction HOH, and we get probably my second most watched Connor confessional of all time, where he's like, "Whoa! I just won double eviction HOH, baby!" He's so excited.
It's so wild. It's so extra, but I love it. I love it.
Like I said, this is Connor living out a dream, and that's not throwing shade. I love that from him. I think it's so exciting. And he's like, "All right, it's time. It is time. I'm coming for Justin. I'm coming for Matt. I'm coming for Caroline, Gray, Emma. They are done. I can take out 2 of them right here. Then I am scooping up once and for all Trey Smith, Trey Robb, Abby, Marston. They're my crew, and I'm taking this thing all the way to the end, and I'm gonna win it." And that's the only thing he was right about. Which if he had to pick one thing from that confessional to be correct about, at
Oh
least it's
yeah,
the win. At
be
least it's the
correct
win of
about
the
winning.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's a very fun confessional. And it really does set the stage well for a lot of like what we're gonna see moving forward throughout the rest of the episode. Because you're basically gonna see everybody's response to that confessional. And like, whereas like it's like one of those things where it's like, in my perfect fantasy, this is what's gonna happen, and then I'll do yada yada yada, and I'll go on to win the game. And it's
Right.
like every other person is like, wait, now wait a minute, like like we're not gonna just let you
Right. Right.
do this. We're not just gonna like roll over and let you just like, you know, have free ultimate will and power to do whatever you want. So
Yeah,
it's
the
fun. It's
game is
fun to
really
see.
the game is really beginning here. Like it's like okay, everyone's like, all right, it is time to play. Like we've got to figure this out. So,
Mhm.
we do. I want to make note of this. We do cut to a Sarah confessional where she's talking about how excited she is that Connor has just won HOH and how great that is for her. Womp womp.
Yeah, this is Connor's first mistake. First mistake is, if you want to take a shot at Justin, Matt, Emma, Gray, whoever it is, then you put all three of them on the block. We've talked about this we talk about this all the time in Big Brother style games. If you have two targets, put them both on the block so that one of them guarantees to go home. But
Right.
unfortunately, I think it seems like Connor gets caught up in this like idea of like, I need an easy person sitting on the block to save.
Right.
And like everybody will save Sarah. It's fine. Like,
Well, and I have less issue with this, and I do think it's not the best move, but like knowingly or not unknowingly, he is still putting three people from the alliance
mhm,
on the block. So that is good. Like up to this point, Connor is at least like has put three viable people on the block that if all things go well, he will accomplish the goal of really making a big hit to that alliance. Um, it's just funny we get the confessional of Sarah feeling really good, and then Connor going on or putting Sarah on the block, and then Sarah being like, "This is not okay." We get the great line. She goes, "This is not a game. It is a game, but this is not a game." Like very funny because she was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! I did not agree to this." In the way that Connor is spinning it to sound like I agreed to this. So yeah.
but to be fair, if the words, well, I guess I would be a pawn,
Right.
come out of your mouth,
Yeah,
then you
yeah,
did agree to it. You
yeah.
gave the person with ultimate power to do that every license in the book.
Yeah, when you
That
had three
what
people to nominate and one of them gave you a sliver of
Yeah.
sure, I'll
When
do it.
when the when the answer is not no,
Right.
like, "No, I will not be your pawn," then you're really leaving yourself open for them to interpret that the way that they want to.
And this is where I mean, before we like get into the nitty gritty of it, this is where we get the last of Sarah for the season.
Mhm.
Like we said, pre-jury star, great fun
Yeah.
edit, great confessionals, and really great for her. Like
Yeah, baby, they cut bait with her so fast. She gets done so dirty in this episode. Like, her alliance does it seems like they don't even consider saving her. It's
right.
like, sorry, girl, but bye.
Bye-bye. So then we get to the POV, which is also a fun little story. Not super like important to the story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. The competition was one of those app games that they played forever and ever and ever. And Justin, I don't know if he looked for it. I don't think I don't believe Justin cheated in any way, but he found or unlocked or lucked upon a glitch in the app that allowed his score to just skyrocket above the rest by miles to the point where people were like, "There's no way he did this." Connor literally came to me and was like, "I'm not trying to like call foul play here, but how did he do that?"
Mhm.
And the only reason I was able to basically sell to Connor that Justin didn't cheat is because if there's anything about Justin Brock that I know is that his moral compass is above and beyond any human being I've ever met in my
Mm.
life. Like it's like a thing that we talk about like openly, and he's like it's just like little things. He if anything is like below board in any way in his life, he has to like if he can't justify it, like it destroys him. Like, and that's why I told Connor, I was like, you got to trust me on this one because I've known Justin for a long time. This is a thing we talk about. Is this unbelievably high moral like code? And so, did he search for a glitch? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think so. I think he truly just got lucky that his phone glitched in this way and he got the score. So, Justin wins the power veto. Obviously, takes himself off the block.
Mhm.
And if you're Connor here, the person or persons that you should replace. So we have at this point we have Sarah and Matt still up. It's either got to be Gray, Caroline, or Emma. Yeah, any
Mhm.
of those three.
It's
Would
obvious. It feels obvious.
it? Oh, it is. It absolutely is.
Did
Um,
did Connor forget about the what was it? What was the name? Gray, Justin,
yeah, yeah.
Caroline,
Or the alliance
or the Tie Alliance
making HOH
3000? Did he
break them
forget?
up. He must have, and I don't know what was in the like. I didn't see the conversation, hear the conversation between Gray and Connor, but we do know based on confessionals and story and all these things that Gray basically just runs all over Connor in this and feeds him a bill of goods. And we kind of get a little bit from Matt's perspective, where Matt talks about, he said, okay, I'm real nervous, but what I'm hearing is that they're going to put Ryan Marston up so that they can save Ryan, get out him and Sarah to weaken Justin, which if that's how the votes would have landed, that's largely what would have happened. Because Justin really is like in a sense the leader of this alliance. Though our story is Gray, Justin
Right.
really is like atop of this. And he's like the seen as the biggest threat, then like Gray right underneath him. The problem is, once again, you have the Tie Alliance that has the numbers. If as long as one of them, or as long as all three of them are not on the block, as long as you have one person on the block that is not part of this alliance, they have the numbers to save the two people, or save at least one of the people they want to save. One of them is going to get knocked out, and so when you have Sarah as one of the people on the block, like we've said, they were just willing to cut bait with her. She was not in the Tie Alliance. She did not go to Thailand, so she was just part of the six on the beach, and therefore they can protect the Tie Alliance, the real core of the alliance, which is basically just all five of them minus Sarah, which is unfortunate for Sarah. And I don't know how Connor buys this. I don't know how Connor buys this, but he does. And it was a point where like I didn't even know if he would realize that he had been had. But the second, so he puts Marston up, and I know this whole time I was like, it's just done. Like Matt's being saved here, and they're gonna get exactly what they want. Marston's going home. A person that in that exuberant confessional, Connor names as one of the people that he's scooping up and charging to the end of the game with. Um, does him dirty, like doesn't mean to, thinks that he's in the clear. I don't know how, but he does. It's ridiculous. And so a couple fun stories from this day. I don't know if you did this on there, but you referenced maybe before we were recording that someone screams in
Yes.
one of the eviction videos. So that night, there were several people over at our apartment. Matt and his wife Britt were among those people. So they were over. This vote's happening. Everyone's scrambling. We're talking about this vote a lot. I am not divulging any of the information because Matt's in the room.
Right.
So they're just hearing so Jenny, Tucker's there. Some others are there that have not played, but are friends. And they're hearing the story, and Matt's just so nervous. He's like losing his mind. So I get the votes in, and I say, Matt, I need you to like go away. I just need you to like just go somewhere. So he like goes outside and like paces around the apartment while I film the eviction video. So I film the eviction video, and I say whatever I say, that Matt, you are safe. Other two or whatever. Because it's Matt, you are safe. Ryan and Sarah, you've been evicted. And when I say that, it's Tucker that screams in the background. He's like, ah! Like just so no one knew any. I was the only one that knew, and so even beyond that, this video I should show on this podcast. So after I film that eviction video, I believe I uploaded it to YouTube. And what we did was we uploaded to YouTube and we sat Matt down to watch my video
It's so
of.
torture. It's so torturous.
And so I have, this is so exclusive. I have the footage of Matt watching the video
I love
for the
this.
first time. So if you're listening to the podcast, you'll be able to hear the audio, but like this is all more reasons for you to attain the video podcast so you can see. Hold on, I'm gonna get it. I want to make sure that we start this at the right time. Okay, so this is our couch. That's Matt. Already super nervous. This is just such a fun moment. Okay, I'll just let it play. Here we go.
Once I reveal the vote, the evicted house guests will have just a few minutes to say their goodbyes and get out. By a vote of 4 to 3, Matt, you are safe.
Hell yeah! I've been talking.
It's just such a great moment. Just pure joy from Matt. As his fate was just like he wasn't sure. Like they were unsure about Caroline, which is funny because she's like very locked in. There's no reason she was saving Ryan Marston. Like no way on earth that she was going to do that. But they had some doubt. They weren't sure. Caroline is someone that they were like kind of cagey about, just generally, especially more down the stretch. And we'll talk about that stuff later. But anyway, so that just another really fun moment from there. That even though in like this, there's a long stretch of frustration that I had with the Thai Lions, not because of not frustrated at them, frustrated at the game because of them, because people were just getting duped by them over and over and over again, and they kept skating by in all these things.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised you found that frustrating in the moment, because I feel like that it's such a high level of gameplay. I feel like you normally would be like all about it or all over it.
Yeah, I think I was just such a Connor stan. I think that's what it was. I just was really rooting for Connor, and to see him like make such a mistake like this. And I don't think this particular move I was super like. I think it's like just more down the line where this like they won't turn on each other really at all. I was like, when is this gonna break up? Right. It eventually does. But yeah, so incredible round of the game.
Well, and it's funny because you show that video, but then you like cut to just in my head. Now I'm cutting to Connor and how mad he is.
Oh, miserable Connor.
Is so frustrated and so upset, and like realizing how much he got played and how like bad of a position he kind of puts himself in here, and honestly like is saved by what happens in the second half of this episode. Connor's game completely is saved by what happens in the second half here.
Yep. And I love Connor for it, because I'm glad he realized how much he messed up. And then you have like maybe an hour or two later, he sends in another confessional where he's like, all right, looking back at this HOH, as a player in this game, that was absolutely horrific. And man, oh man, did that just screw me over. And I'm in big trouble. I got a lot of work to do. But then he said, but as a fan of Big Brother, that was such an incredible move they just pulled off on me. And I got to give him props. And it's just that level of fun that is being had, that especially by him, knowing that like Connor's going to get the full experience. There's no stone unturned in the story of Connor Mills and BBH2. And this is just another one of those moments, probably one of the bigger ones, where he just realized how hard.
He continues to show such just a great self-awareness. I don't know how many people can look at something bad that happens to them and be like, wow, that is such a fun, like what fun people watching this are having with this. Right. You know, like so many people are so consumed with their own story that they can't see like the bigger picture, and I think that's one thing Connor does, and I think it's one of the things that serves him very well as a player is he is able to see beyond himself and beyond his own story to see the circumstances surrounding, and I think that is on display here in the aftermath of this round.
And it's great that he doesn't take it personally because he very easily could have, knowing that he was not someone connected going in. But at this point, he feels very integrated in the game, and therefore he's able to accept this move as they got me and they got me good, and I should have known better because he should have, and he knows he should have. But who knows? Like, who knows what happens if he makes the right move? Like, that's a very different game. Maybe Connor has a cleaner finish. And does still end up winning, but maybe not. You just never know.
Right.
And then like I put my video from the future in, contextualizing all of that, talking about a little bit of that, which when I was editing that, I just felt the need because I was like, this is such a good episode. I want people to appreciate it.
And I think people do, and I think people will. Gray really is able to put his stamp on the season right here.
Mm-hmm.
Like it truly is this round that is Gray's, and the only thing I wish is that we had a little bit more context from Gray. Like I wish
he breaks the move down a little bit afterwards.
Yeah.
And talks about how Sarah was on the outs of the group anyway, and like all these things. He talks a little bit about wanting to get Connor out next. Talks a little bit about needing the $150 for his water bill, and like wanting to make a jury and all these things. He feels like he'd have a great case at the end.
Yeah, I wish that we had gotten more of an explanation about like how he convinces Connor.
Right.
I feel like that's the story that's lost here, unfortunately. And in a perfect world, we have that. We have a confessional outlining that, but ultimately, we're seeing Greg really unfortunately, between this and what happens in the latter half of this episode, we're seeing the peak of Gray Price here in season 2.
Right. Absolutely.
And because we're rapidly about to go downhill. Can we talk about probably potentially my favorite part of Big Brother Hometowns 2?
Okay.
Which is the return of Greg Wells.
Yes.
And not only the return of Greg Wells, but the rise of Greg Wells, the rise to power. And yes.
To this day, people are not convinced that Greg Wells did not cheat. Because he did a slide puzzle in 4 seconds.
Right.
So here's the theory. The website that we used, it is not uniform in the sense that every time you pull it up, the slide puzzle is configured in the same way. So people are convinced that he refreshed it over and over again until he got a setup he felt like he could do quickly. Greg says
as he should.
As he should, right. And he might have done that. So there's that part of it. There's also the second part, because he gave me Scout's honor that he only did it once. Which, for Boy Scouts, that must mean something. I don't know. But the other thing he said, he claims, and this is a classic org lie, but he may be telling the truth. He's like, oh, my whole life I've been doing slide puzzles, and I've just always loved these, and I've been just so good. Like my grandma, when I was a kid, gave me a slide puzzle.
How many pieces was it? Was it a 3x3?
Yeah, it wasn't very big. So I think it was just 9. It was numbered 1 through 9. So not very big. To do it in 4 seconds, yeah.
Okay.
So yes, Greg not only wins this battle back, but he wins the HOH. He messes it up, but he wins the HOH, and the fear is back.
Yeah, it's palpable. We get a confessional from Abby. She's like, God, please no. Like,
yeah. And like that's not an over dramatization. That is the noise that came out of Abby Baxley's mouth.
Yeah, and you can just I just feel like you can see like through the course of like this. There's not a ton of confessionals in this little segment between, congrats, Greg, you're back in the game, and Trey, you've been evicted. Right. Like there's not a ton of confessionals, but you can feel the energy shift. Mm-hmm. Like it's in It's in Abby's confessional. It's in his nominations. It's
Well,
in
Connor talks about the like, if you ever felt like a storm was coming or whatever he says,
right.
and like everyone's just like hunkering down and just ready to embrace it. That's what it feels like with Greg Wells back in the house, which Connor should feel. If anything, he should feel like just absolutely joyful.
He's so lucky. Like I said earlier, this is the best thing that could have happened for Connor's game because he went from being the person everybody had their eyes set on to being like second fiddle to Greg Wells, #1 DVH villain after this at the time of the recording of season 2 podcast. So it, he really benefits here. But the one person who isn't pressed about Greg returning into the game is Trey Smith herself.
Yeah.
She just is not here for it. She's just like, you can do what you want. I do not care.
No, here's what she says. She says, Greg says that he's going to come in and burn the house down. And what she says, she says, and who's that fun for? Right? Or something like, and that's, she goes, and that's fun for everybody. Like, she's so over it.
Just does not care. I love it. I love it.
So now we get to Greg's attempted HOH. And I say attempted HOH because he really doesn't do a good job here. He does
he was an HOH.
Yeah, he was the HOH, which good for him. Congrats, you did win an HOH. I hope it was fun. Hope it was worth it. But here's some important details that are kind of touched on in the episode, but I'll flesh out a little bit more. So Greg has a plan, and in this plan, he is going to Abby and going to Gray, these two people, and he wants to form something with them. He's not just coming to the game trying to just like burn everything down. He's trying to like get himself integrated back in somehow. And so he goes to Gray and Abby and tries to pull the classic, hey, no one would expect this. No one would expect this alliance. The three of us, oh, no one's going to see that coming. The problem is, and I think this is a fault of Gray, honestly. I really do think that in hindsight, and I think Gray would even agree with this, that he should have taken him up on this. But Gray is, and this is maybe where I'm starting to get frustrated with that alliance. He's so loyal to it. And he's like, he's just having so much fun with them, which is fair, that he's like, and he runs back to them with that information. So I think there's a world where Gray maybe should have taken Greg up on this instead of being so blindly loyal to the Thailand alliance, because he's got to, like, Gray does have to start considering his path to the end. And yeah, maybe that largely includes people he's aligned with, but people like Greg can serve as a shield for him, and Gray had no part in it. And so he allowed Greg to like, Gray was just so fueled by fooling people that he's going 3 for 3 here. He's already gotten Greg out once. He's done it to Connor, and now he's ready to fool Greg again.
Yeah, no, you just see him getting too greedy, right? Like, you just see like this like power hungry person come to play, and yes, I know that he's going to go out here soon, but like, I almost just feel like you can feel in the edit that like this is the beginning of the end. Like, this is, you know that this is going to end poorly for Gray, and it's like, oh baby, like, pump the brakes a little bit, like. But yeah, you're right, he just is so blinded by like these moves that he's done, and he's kind of like, he's living for himself, and he's like, he just can't stop, he just keeps going.
Yeah, and he really could have taken advantage of this, but he doesn't, and it works for what he's trying to accomplish. So Greg puts up Trey and Emma. Once again, a poor decision. You see him putting up Emma, someone in that alliance, next to someone not in that alliance, Trey. If he wants to go this route, it's got to be Emma and Caroline at least. But he puts up Trey, who's going to go home because Gray outlines the whole thing that about backdoor is not going to work. That's what Greg thinks he's doing.
Yeah, Matt, just put Justin on the block. Right. Again, put him on the block straight up. Like,
it's not like it's a secret. It's not like it's a secret.
Right.
That Greg is coming for Justin. The whole world knows it. Everyone knows it. So having to go via the back door, which everyone sometimes thinks is the end all be all, it's not. but it feeds perfectly into the Thailand Alliance's hands. Matt wins the POV. He kind of suggests that he'll play ball with Greg a little bit in the sense that he'll use the power of veto, which is even more like just like slapping Greg in the face and being like, "Oh yeah, watch this." Sure, go ahead, put Justin up.
We'll use the veto for you.
Yeah,
No
we'll do it.
worries.
Yeah. I wrote here, Gray just icing out Greg completely here. I wrote it's gameplay. It's not necessarily good gameplay. It is gameplay. But he's just icing Greg out. And Matt was veto pulls Emma off. And then we get the great speech, the monologue from Greg as that, in this game, there are snakes. And you only get so many opportunities to take out a snake, which is true. Yeah, he's right. He's putting Justin up, big threat, trying to take him out of this game. But I don't see how Greg didn't see it. He literally submitted a name with that alliance in it. He submitted it. Like he typed it out.
That was just a fever. That was actually just a fever dream. What you've forgotten is that was just a fever dream. Actually, that was never. He never submitted that alliance name. It was just a hallucination.
I think to this day it's a hallucination because if he knew that, he would have made the right decision here. It was very easy for him to get his target out here, and his target is literally like if the Thai Alliance is a dartboard, all he has to do is close his eyes and throw it, and if he hits anywhere, he's successful.
Right. That's one person. Yeah,
but no. He makes the big snakes monologue. Should people have taken the opportunity to take Justin out? Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, it worked out for Connor.
Yeah. It really works out for Connor. Connor throws a rogue vote here. Is this where? Yeah, he throws out a rogue vote against Justin here, which Connor thinks that it's another one of those moments where Connor thinks has this big like impact, and we'll see a little bit more of that in the coming episodes. It
revolutionary.
It's not a big deal at all. And so. Trey goes home in what is officially deemed the Trey Rob spot, which is the spot where there's no battle back and no jury. The way the numbers fall, he just gets lumped here. I guess we only really got that one confessional from Trey early on, but we'll have plenty more Trey content in the future. So bye for now, Trey. We get one final confessional from Matt, where he's talking about how I didn't decide to take the shot at Justin now. It's not the right time, but when the time comes, I'm ready to take it. And the reason he is giving this confessional is because I basically directly asked him, I'm like, how long is something to the effect of how long is this alliance lasting? When do you take Justin out? Is this the time? And so he responds with, it's not the time yet, but the time is coming. I'll be ready for it. Which we'll be able to talk about in the future.
Yeah.
And that wraps up. I mean, a ton of content. We once again are going to make a lot more out of a lot less with these episodes, especially in the early goings. But a lot of fun stuff in these first 3 episodes, this first half. We're really heading towards what I'm considering the middle section to then the end game. This middle section is where we're getting towards Connor's big blow up. His petulant toddler explosion, as he would call it. I'm really excited to talk about that as we see that middle section turn into the end game, which is also still really interesting, talking to the finale and ultimately how Connor is going to end up winning the whole season. So before you get ready to watch the next part of this, of Mitchell and I, go ahead and watch the last 3 episodes of the season if you haven't done so already, or go back and watch the first 3 episodes with more context now that you've listened to us. And that's pretty much all I've got. You got anything else?
No, we're 2 hours in. I think I think it's time to wrap it up.
I feel like I could talk. I feel like I really fired up in this last couple hours, so I could talk about this season forever. And there's plenty more to talk about. We're excited, so we hope that you click on through, get on to the next part, and we will see you in Picture This, Big Brother Hometown Director's Perspective Season 2. We'll see you in Chapter 2. That's Mitchell Stokes. I'm Josh Consalvo, and we will see you next time.